Hey, I'm Joe.
Hi, I'm Lynn, and we're the Feminist Couple. I wanted to explain this next video. It's going to be a two-parter. We are answering the question, does religious and political compatibility matter? We're going to answer the question. We're going to talk a little bit about this book, How to Have Impossible Conversations, a very practical guide by Peter Boghossian and James Lindsay. And we're going to use a few of their suggestions in the book to have our own conversations online, which for length we'll have to edit it because, with these conversations, we can get off track sometimes, or I think about something after the conversation's already over and then I want to go back and say something. But we will first do religion. The first part's going to be religion. I'm an atheist and secular humanist, and Joe is a Christian. So we hope that's going to be an interesting conversation, and then we'll follow up a week later with part 2 on politics. Joe is a Republican, kind of a centrist Republican, and I am a socialist, so I'm very left wing. So that should be an interesting conversation, we hope, as well. And we'll just go on with the rest of the video now. And this will, of course, happen over a few days, so we're going to have some quick wardrobe changes. So sorry about that. All right.
Hey, YouTube followers, I'm Joe.
I'm Lynn, and we're the Feminist Couple. And today we're talking about, does religious and political compatibility matter in a relationship?
Good question.
That's a good question. Yeah. I think it's more important that your moral values are compatible. So
Yes.
Politics is just about how society should be structured. Religion is about how your religion or your church expects its followers to, with the rules you're expected to follow. So moral values is all about how you treat other people and to some extent other living things, but our focus today is going to be on how you treat people. So, for example, on the issue of using someone's pronouns, people say, well, I can't do that, it's against my religion, it's against my politics, but really that's all about how you treat other people.
And when she's talking about pronouns, it's when people want to be named, like they might be a female, but they want to be seen as a male. Or they might be a male that wants to be seen as a female. Or it could be somebody who is just, they have no genre. They just feel like they are for everybody.
Well, I think a better way to say that is that they were assigned one way at birth and they discover that they are actually
Right. That is
a different
that is
gender.
a better way to
Or
say
they
it.
feel like they don't really have a gender or gender doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But either way, whether you believe that or not, it's all about treating the person with respect. Right?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. So that's something that we agree on, and so we don't have to worry about how are we going to treat this family member or that friend over there. So you want to be compatible on things like that, how you treat other people.
And a lot of you people out there who think you're Christians, y'all are going to get mind blown by what we're about to say.
They are.
I'm pretty sure they are. I hope
Okay.
they are. I hope they are. Because, I'm sorry, we were taught wrong growing up.
Okay, do you want to talk more about that?
Once we get there.
Okay. All right. So to make a mixed relationship like ours work, you have to accept each other for who you are, and not try to change the other person. That's very important. But you don't want to just not talk about the subject ever.
Yeah.
Never talk about your differences, because then you're throwing away an opportunity to really understand each other.
And to be able to connect better with each other, too.
Right, exactly. And of course, you also don't want the conversation to go horribly wrong either.
Right. And that's something we all fear and worry about.
Yeah. So that's why what the experts are saying portion of this. We're kind of doing it in the middle. We're going to talk about this book, How to Have Impossible Conversations, a very practical guide by
How do you do that?
Peter Boghossian and James Lindsay. It's a really good book. It actually has a lot of advanced stuff that we won't really have time to go into. We're just going to touch on it a little bit, and then we're going to try it out ourselves. Okay? And
Yes, we're going to do a little mock of questioning each other.
Yeah. Okay. So, for the book, a few basics. So you want to know your goal in having the conversation. And the conversation is going to go better if your goal is to understand the other person rather than trying to persuade them.
Right.
And you want to be friendly, of course. You want to listen, which means for a while no talking. You just let the other person talk.
So hard for me to do. I'm sorry.
He's working on it. He'll work on it.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah. Everyone's a work in progress. Okay, and you want to ask questions.
Yes.
You definitely want to assume that the other person has good intentions.
Yes, I love that about when you said earlier. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And then a few of the other advanced techniques, you want to re-express what the other person has just said to show that you understand.
Yeah, and you were listening.
And list points of agreement so that you can find some common ground. You want to state what you learned before sharing your point of view.
Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah. And another one, this one's really hard for me. Eliminate the word but. You have to say yes and or yes or instead of yes but. One of the biggest differences between us, we have both religious and political differences, but
Yeah.
I think what we want to talk about now is the fact that Joe is Christian and I'm an atheist, specifically a secular humanist. So,
You might want to explain what that is to some of our viewers. But I am a Christian. I'm not the bubble thumping people that you're used to. I was raised Catholic and Baptist. I was trying to think of other things. Like, I was raised Catholic and Baptist. My main religion that I grew up with is Catholic, but I sang in the Baptist church, and I went to the RAs for the Baptist. And, I feel like I'm a Christian. I don't feel like I'm Christ-like, which is where the word Christian came from. In the Bible, Christian is only mentioned 4 times. And it was meant, they said it when they were talking about somebody as Christ-like. Well, I'm definitely not Christ-like, but I want to strive to be. And I hope everybody strives to be Christ-like. But religion does not allow that anymore. Ooh, we seem like we're getting, I'm seem like I'm getting into a different topic.
but that's okay. What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is, as I believe a Christian should be, is they should be for everyone. And if you read the Bible, somebody says something bad to you, then you are supposed to turn the cheek. Meaning, people can talk bad stuff to you, and you should just ignore it. You should still love them, even if they're talking bad stuff.
So, Joe, I wanted to talk to you some more about what you said about turning the other cheek and that being a big part of your Christianity. Now, from what I understand, the context around the time was that Christians were a very small group and they needed to keep themselves safe from the powers, the government powers at the time. The Romans were in charge, and they also didn't want to be, have a reputation as being jerks who would say offensive things. So that kept them safe and kept their reputation and worked well in the context of what was going on at the time. Would you say that was fair?
Well, I mean, I would think that would be a good plus, but I don't think that's why they did it. I mean, why it was said to turn the other cheek. As a Christian, I like to believe that it's meant to say that even if somebody's trying to hurt you, that rather than hurt them back, that you should turn the other cheek, or meaning not engage, get out of that situation, maybe. But
And I can see how that can be useful in situations where someone's just being rude because they're having a bad day. So some things you do just want to let go. But at the same time, I also think that if someone really wants to hurt you or hurt the ones you love, you do have.
Yeah.
There are times when you do have to.
you have to protect your family or your loved ones.
Right, and that might mean not necessarily fighting back. It might just mean retreating, or fighting back, but not necessarily just letting them do whatever.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and so that might be why you find that it's not something you can do perfectly all the time.
Right.
It's more
Yeah,
like a
certain
goal.
situations require
Mhm.
certain things.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad we agree on that.
Religion. I think of religion as being a guideline to tell people how they should act. And I feel like the Bible tells us that we should love one another. When somebody's mean to us, then we should be nice to them. Not because they were mean to us, just because they're a person. And I think that's the whole meaning of religion, is that to love one another. It's not for us to judge anybody. And it says that in the Bible. We cannot judge anybody. God judges everybody. So the reason I'm having a hard time following this concept is because it makes me think of how awful Christians are these days. And they're not Christians, because Christian means somebody who's Christ-like. Religious people of the day are not Christ-like. They are trying to be. That is their goal. I hope that's their goal. But religion has gotten so far off base in so many ways. And you can see it, like we have wars non-stop in the world. And it's not all religious based. I know that's what I was about to say, but that's not true. They're not all. But a lot of them is. But it's because, God created the world in 7 days. Well, I think he created it in 6 days, so we should be at war. That's the kind of nonsense we should knock out. Like, that's total nonsense. The Bible is meant to bring us together, not tear us apart. My wife is an atheist. It hurts me to think that my wife hates God. But that's not what an atheist is. She does not say she hates somebody. She hates nobody. She's the way that Christians are supposed to be. We're supposed to love everybody. The Bible, when you read it, it will tell you things about women. That they're supposed to have their place in the world. They're supposed to be by the man's side. I don't agree with that. I mean, I think the woman should be on my side, but I should be on her side too. Religion for me, I guess that's the best way I can say it. Religion for me is, I've read the Bible, not necessarily every single word, and that's when I say not absolutely every one, I mean it. I did not read every word of the Bible. I didn't. I read a good bit. Matthew was my favorite. So you Christians, read Matthew. That's my favorite. That the Bible will tell you stuff that tells women that they should be obedient to men. I disagree with that. I'm a Christian. I believe in Christian values, but I do not believe in making the woman second to the man. Women and men are equal. And I think that's the real reason Jesus and God made the Bible, was to try to get people to be loving each other and to tell each other when somebody does something bad to you, swipe it off, ignore it. Not ignore it, that's not what they say, but turn the other cheek. Because showing love is easier. No, that's actually harder. It's actually harder to show love than it is to be hateful. It's really easy to be hateful. I've always considered myself a Christian, but at one time in my life, I lost somebody that was the love of my life. And she begged me not to let her die, and there was nothing I can do. It was out of my reach. And I wanted to believe that it was God needed her, heaven needed her. Like, she was really needed, and that's why she had to leave this earth. I don't know that that's true or not, but I would like to believe that. I would also like to believe that she's up there looking at me and watching everything I do, and that she's happy that I found the love of my life, and that she's happy that me and Lynne love each other so much. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Mm.
That the Bible basically says that when we die, we go to heaven. And I love that. And I love to think that Melissa and Scout are watching us. I love that. And that's what hurts me about you being an atheist, is because being an atheist, I don't know what that means. I know we've talked, but for most people, being an atheist means when you die, there's nothing else. There's nothing. That person's gone forever. For the religious thing, the reason I like the religious thing is because there's still the chance that they're in heaven or in hell, but they're waiting for us, and they're still there. But that also is what pissed me off about God and religion, is that they would try to tell you that the time you have on earth is a blink of an eye compared to eternity. The things you do on earth are going to say whether you get to go to heaven or hell.
Mm-hmm.
So what pissed me off was like, wait a minute. God is supposed to be all-knowing, not what I believe. I do not believe God is all-knowing. I actually am totally against that. God does not know what's going to happen. Because if he did, he got some explaining to do. But I do not believe he knows what's going to happen. I believe he had well intent of creating us, and he hopes that we're going to do the greatest we can. But for somebody to say that I will create you and I will see how you act in the blink of an eye, and if you act badly in that blink of an eye, I will send you to hell where you will burn in all eternity.
Mm.
Or if you do good in that blink of an eye, I will send you to heaven. They say in the Bible, it is easier to get to heaven. No. It is easier to get through the eye of a needle as a camel. I know I'm saying this wrong. It's easier for a camel to fit through the eye of a needle than it is for a person to get to heaven. Question marks. A lot of question marks. Why would you create us if you know that we're going to burn in hell for eternity? Why would you create us knowing you put in our thoughts, our emotions, knowing we have the ability to be bad, we have the ability to be good? I mean, that's really cool about humanity. We do have the ability to be both. My argument with religion is of what they believe, not my belief in religion, because I believe God is all loving, not all knowing. He's all loving, and he wants all of us to love each other.
The basic gist of what you're saying is you're a Christian because you like the idea of that moral ideal of being Christ-like and loving everybody and not being judgmental.
Very close, very close.
Okay. Am I missing something?
No, it was just when you said being Christian, you should be Christ-like. Although, you're right, because I did say that. But that was because I was saying that in the Bible, Christian was only mentioned 4 times. And it was when people were referring to somebody who was Christ-like. Now, me, I'm not Christ-like. And I've never met anybody Christ-like. Right. Never.
So it's a ideal that you just try to approach.
Right. You want to try to be as close to Jesus as you can, or try to follow in his footsteps. Now, there were people in the Bible who did not understand him. Actually, there was a lot of people in the Bible, that's why they killed him. There's people in the Bible that talk about him as he was wrong. And they're like, wait a minute, you talk about you want people to be good and this other stuff, but yet you're in bars, and Jesus was in bars.
Okay.
And
so
they weren't called bars back then, probably. Wait, they might have been. I really don't know. But he was, and he was questioned about it. And his answer was, the sick are the ones who need healing, not the ones who are well. Something along those lines. I know that's not the exact lines, but his meaning was, why would I hang out with the people who are Christians, who are doing things well? I would rather hang out with the people who are not doing good and are struggling with life, so I could help them in some way.
All right. So one thing I noticed, and this is my question, is that you said that you don't believe that God is all-knowing.
Exactly. No, I do not.
Right. Because and we agree that there is a conflict between a God who is both all-knowing and all.
And a lot of Christians think that God is all-knowing. But you gotta ask yourself that question. If God was all-knowing, do you really think that he would send 90% of the people he created to hell to spend eternity in pain for something they did in the blink of an eye?
Yeah.
And if he did, then you gotta hate him. Yeah. I'm sorry, but you do.
I agree that makes sense, but
cool. I like butts. It makes you learn. This is what I love.
Sometimes we're to avoid saying but.
This is what I love about her being an atheist, me being a Christian, her being a Democrat, and me being a Republican. Being on different sides is what's great. That's where the government, the U.S. of A., America, was founded, was we wanted to have a Republican and Democrat. So that way you had 2 different points of view. Same way as our marriage. You have 2 different points of view, but you can get to what is great.
Okay. It's such a defining feature of Christianity for most Christians. I mean, just the definition of, is the belief in all-knowing, all-powerful.
I know, I hate that.
Yeah. So then my question is, why you stick with that particular religion instead of just throwing it away and saying, no, that must be wrong?
I don't. Good question. That's why I'm not Catholic, Baptist, um, Muslim, any of those. I think they're all following a book that was written 2,000 years ago. And the people 2,000 years ago were totally different from us. Now, there were certain points put out in the Bible that I do think we should follow. But I do not believe that we should follow the Bible as being 100% correct. Because the Bible was written by man. Oh, I know y'all just got shocked. Y'all are like, oh my God, that's not true. God wrote the entire Bible. No, I'm sorry to break your hearts, but he did not. That's why we have the book of Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, 1 Corinthians. There's a lot of them. Because different people wrote their stories of what they saw. Some of the people saw the same things. So some of the books will talk about the same things. But they are all stories from man. I think I know the answer. Mm-hmm. Okay. Lynn asked me, why do I believe in God? It's because I like to believe that even after we die, I would like to believe that there's a heaven that we're going to go to. And that one day when I die, I'll get to see my friends and family that I love again. As an atheist, you don't believe that there's any afterlife. You believe when you die, that's it. And to me, that's really sad. So I would really like to believe that when I die, I'll get to see my loved ones again.
All right. So a secular humanist is someone who believes that the natural world is all that there is. So there's no supernatural world, no afterlife, no gods or ghosts or anything like that.
So sad. I'm just kidding.
Well,
not really.
And that science gives us the best way or methods of finding out about the natural world.
That's true.
And that what's right and wrong depends on its effects on people and to some extent other living things. So what's right is what makes people survive and thrive. And if it's wrong, things that hurt people are wrong, obviously. It's pretty simple. And that's about it. And so I know you said that you'd like to believe that you'd see your loved ones again. And, you know, I guess we'd all like to believe that. But I can't believe something just because I want it to be true. To me, yeah. I mean, to me, whether I want to believe something, whether something sounds good, has no bearing on whether or not it's actually true.
True. And that's where faith comes in.
Yeah.
That's what the Christians would be saying, I mean.
Yeah. I just don't see the point of faith, I guess. Why do you want to have faith if it's in something that, you know, that you don't have any evidence? If there's no evidence for it and it's something that you know you just believe because you want to believe it. But whether you want to believe it or not, it doesn't make it true. Do you have any questions for me?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. What?
As an atheist, what do you think happens to the person, the soul, whatever you want to call it, when they die?
They just cease to be. How do I explain it? It's like everything that you are, all your personality and everything, is basically what things that your brain does. Your brain is full of electrical activity, and hormones, and neurons, and this is all of your personality traits and all of your experiences. They're in your brain. That's your mind is what your brain does. So if your brain is no longer functioning because you're dead, then you can't have any of those experiences ever again. You're gone, and you live on in a sense in the memories of the people you
How
left
do
behind.
you explain the fact that a person alive weighs a certain amount, and when they die, they weigh 5 pounds less?
Well, I mean, you expel gases and things when you die.
Good answer. That's a good answer. Yeah, those are some heavy gases, I guess. I guess it was a heavy soul. Like, it really, like, I was just a question. I really don't know.
Well, the thing is that's another thing that to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The idea of a soul that is separate from your body.
Good question, or good thought.
Because I mean, and you think about God and angels, and so they're supposed to have minds but no bodies, and a voice and no voice box. That's just, they're supposed to be immaterial, but everything your mind does is because of your brain, which is a physical material thing. So that's why it doesn't make, and two, when somebody has Alzheimer's, for example, or they have brain damage,
That's so sad.
they can go through personality changes.
Oh, absolutely, because they lost their personality. They don't know who they are anymore. They don't even remember who they used to be.
Right, and that's because of damage to the brain. Right. And so it's hard to believe that there is a soul that is separate from the brain, that can exist apart from the brain, because we see what brain damage does to a person's personality.
Doesn't affect their soul, though. That's my opinion.
Okay, so then
That's the body.
then the soul is different from
Exactly.
a person's personality. But then,
That's the way I believe
but
it.
then what is it exactly?
It is the essence of them, the loving, the hating, the everything, but it's the essence of them, but in a non-physical sense. It's in a gaseous light. I mean, not really light, but it's, to me, the soul is the person. I think that is the way I look at it, is the soul is the person. The body you see, like me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a body, and you know me as Joe, but my soul's name might be Jose. I really don't know, but
Somehow doubt that.
my body is being used by my soul. But when the body's gone, the soul will still keep going on as energy, because that's what it is energy. It's a gaseous energy, or not even gaseous. I'm not even sure I'm saying that right. Probably not. To me, the soul is who we are, but not who our body is. Or,
Well, who are we?
we're energy in a universe created of energy, dispersed about by energy, and seen by energy. We're energy. Energy in human form.
But if it's just energy that survives, is that survival in any meaningful sense?
We don't know because we are not there right now. Our energy is in us, but our energy, our life is only one part of our journey. Death is not the end of our journey, but maybe the beginning or a second stage.
But no one's come back to say, hey, this is...
Of course not. They wouldn't.
Why not? Like if I were to die right now, I feel like there isn't anything that would stop me from contacting you and saying, hey, guess what? But nobody does that.
They're not allowed to. For one, they wouldn't be able to speak our language because they're in totally a different form. They have no vocal cords, so they couldn't speak. Two, it's too amazing. I've seen really good answers for this before. I just can't think of what they are. But I have seen really good answers for this of the same question. So I wish I could answer that the way they did, because this isn't one of my strengths.
It just seems crazy to me that there'd be an afterlife where you're separated
It's
from
not crazy.
everyone you love, but yet you can't contact them, but yet you're supposed to be
But
happy
you're
in
thinking,
that state.
you're thinking though that when you die, that's it. You're separated.
Well,
There's separation because you no longer exist. You don't exist.
yeah, it's a
There's
separation, but you don't feel it because you don't exist, so you don't experience the separation. You don't experience anything. All right, so you can have a good, healthy relationship even if you don't agree, as long as you have some
understanding of loving each other.
right, and you have some
Respecting the person's thoughts and their beliefs.
right, and you just accept the person for who they are, and you want to have some of your morals in common, but it doesn't mean you have to agree with everything politically or religiously necessarily.
Exactly.
And so if anyone has any thoughts on this topic, or on anything we said in this video, go ahead and put your comments, hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.